So, Vivek, what's woke?
Yeah, wokeness refers to being alert to invisible injustices.
What? What the fuck does that even mean? What is an invisible injustice?
The first time I heard woke, I thought it was something positive. You know, that you were awake to what was happening and that you were fighting the white male capitalist who had the whole world set up for himself.
Okay, you're saying it doesn't mean that? Okay, we're finally gonna get a definition, people, of what woke is from...
And you were going to be the activist who brought the whole system down.
Omelette review, take one.
My name is Omelette Benobi. I live in LA, and I work for PragerU. At this point in
personality.
In the 2020s, woke is everywhere. On billboards, in entertainment, in sports.
What do you mean woke is... because the term hasn't been in any of the things you've shown yet. Hello, Phoenix.
On our clothes, in our schools, and in our businesses. And I kept wondering, how did this happen?
Well, I mean, it probably happened because capitalists like to actually make money, and it helps to actually make yourselves look like you are from the same planet as the people you're selling to.
We all feel it, and the feeling isn't a good one.
What is the feeling?
As someone who was once on the far left,
She was a fucking Democrat.
I worry that wokeism is ripping our country apart. At PragerU, we have a slogan. Don't just complain, do something.
Really? Because your entire company, your entire fucking propaganda outlet is dedicated to complaining about things.
So, I began asking questions. Where did wokeism come from? Is woke here to stay? And are there alternatives to wokeism? So,
how about what is wokeism? Because you just said that it isn't the thing where you're aware of the power structure and you're trying to fight against it. You said it wasn't that? So, what is it?
So began what would become a journey across the United States to try to find those answers. And perhaps...
And apparently, everything that was actually on message from the PragerU standpoint, from this epic journey across the United States, it actually just boiled down to 17 minutes and 33 seconds. And that's including her fucking narration.
In finding those answers, we'll find a way to...
Yeah, I mean, they undoubtedly have claimed at some point that Biden's on the far left. Because there's this whole idea that they just accuse all Democrats, no matter how right-wing they are, of being some kind of communists.
And wokeism, once and for all.
So what is wokeism? Are you going to tell us what it is? Because you said you want to end it. You said you thought it was a good thing when you thought it meant realizing that there was a power structure run by a bunch of rich white fucks. But now but then you said you found out it was something else, and you haven't said what it is. Are we gonna get a definition? Please, Amala.
So much of the talk around woke seems to be just that. Talk. At the end of the day, nothing will change if those of us who disagree with wokeism don't take action ourselves.
Okay, but what is it? Are you gonna tell us what the fucking concept is that you're opposing? Like, I mean, I can tell you what the far right is. I can tell you what capitalism is when I'm opposing, because it's kind of important, I find, when you're going to oppose something, to actually put it into words what the thing is that you're opposing. And yet, all of this money, and they still can't find a definition of woke that is suitable to their purposes. And...
But to understand what can be done about it...
Yeah, wokeism is just some bullshit fascists came up with.
We need to understand the world in which it originated.
Well, maybe we could try starting by understanding what the fuck it is. I mean, these people will just sort of do this whole song and dance around, oh, but they can't define woman, which is of course bullshit. But they run around talking about wokeism, and then they refuse to define it.
My first stop was to talk to the man who literally wrote the book on woke. Here we are in Columbia.
Oh, okay, I can't wait. This is going to be the guy who wrote the book that is just the Bible for all of us. And I'm really kind of curious to find out what the fuck that book is, because I don't even know what the hell it is.
The first questions, what is wokeism? And where did
She's gonna answer the question.
it come from? Hi, Vivek.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Meet Vivek Ramaswamy. He recently founded Strive Asset Management, an investment management firm that's
Okay, so after these messages from Strive Asset Management, we're gonna get a definition of wokeism, though, right?
challenging industry titans like BlackRock and Vanguard. He's doing it the old-fashioned way, focusing
Inheriting money and then exploiting workers?
his investment decisions on excellence over politics. But before Strive, he founded a multi-billion-dollar biotech company called Roivant Sciences. They were literally working to cure cancer.
Literally every fucking biotech company claims to be working to cure cancer.
Until, at the height of Black Lives Matter, his board and employees demanded Vivek speak out in full support of the organization and the movement. And he couldn't do it with a clear conscience.
But I stepped down as
So
CEO.
he left the
So he worked out that there was a fucking marketing niche that he could fill by being the guy who says, actually, this movement against racism and murdering black people and stuff, actually, I can't really get behind that because I'm sort of for those things or whatever.
the company that he created. Because of
But I mean, we do have to just say, of course, obviously the people whose opinions matter most to us in this sort of situation, the people who are obviously the ones to turn to for political guidance, are fucking investment spivs.
this experience, Vivek wrote a book you might have heard of, called Unwoke Inc.
Wow, he stands on streets and looks purposefully at cameras. And he has a mobile phone. I mean, his credibility is established.
He wrote a book called Unwoke Inc. I think a lot of people are going to hear that and go, what's woke?
Yes, and especially a lot of people who only hear about the term from sources like PragerU because they never fucking define it.
So, Vivek, what's woke?
Yeah, wokeness refers to being alert to invisible injustices.
What? What the fuck does that even mean? What is an invisible injustice?
Perpetuated against disempowered
You misspelled perpetuated. I mean, yes, he meant to say perpetrated, but what he said was perpetuated.
classes of people, generally defined on genetically inherited characteristics.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we do love to base everything on fucking genetically inherited characteristics. And, I mean, we don't care about the visible injustices. If you can actually discernibly recognize, a manifestation of an injustice, obviously, I mean, we apostles of wokeism, we don't care about that. It's the invisible ones. It's the ones you can't see.
Like race, gender, and sexual orientation.
Race is not genetically inherited. It's a social construct that is only a couple of 100 years old. And people actually shift between one racial classification and another fairly often based on just the opportunistic needs of white supremacist systems.
Basically borrows from the tropes of Marxism, which was this oppressor-oppressed narrative.
Well,
But wokeism was really
they're showing us pictures of Karl Marx. Yeah, I've never heard of the fucking book either. I've never heard of him either. For Strive Capital Management. And why, and the only thing I can imagine is that if I go through, SourceWatch, and try to find Strive Capital. In fact, I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna look at sourcewatch.org. We're gonna see Strive Capital Management. Strive Woke Inc. Vivek. Not on, unfortunately not on SourceWatch yet, but I'm gonna kind of suspect that Vivek Ramaswamy has financial ties to this general right-wing propaganda cinematic universe, because that train's just never late.
It was not just Marxism, it was the merger of Marxism with identity politics. The idea that you are nothing more and nothing less than the genetic stock that you inherit.
That is literally not what, I mean, okay. That's, so what the fuck does that mean?
On the day you're born. So that's what you sort of refer to as the trend of modern wokeness.
Okay.
Now,
and you've of course got some citations to explain where somebody who is a proponent of this and not just a fucking investment banker actually has said that this is what it's about, right? You got some quotes. It's not just you giving us your word.
this is a fringe philosophy. I mean, this was...
If it's a fringe philosophy, then how is it taking over the world? I mean, you can't have it both ways. If it's fringe, then you won't have heard of it. But you're saying that it's everywhere, and it's it's this big ruling ideology, conspiracy, and everything. In which case, it's not fringe, is it? Then it's fucking mainstream, and that is exactly what these reactionaries have such trouble with. That the ideas that start from the assumption that people like them suck shit are actually mainstream, and not because people on top thought that they should be, but because they just made sense to most people who come in contact with them.
A theory from the halls of academia, and it was a challenge to this.
That's what the halls of academia look like. It's this guy sort of standing there. We're not going to get a name for him, I'm guessing.
System. It was an interesting set of ideas. Does it mean it was all coherent? No, not necessarily. But it was interesting.
Okay, why are we being shown all...
It was provocative. It was a different way of looking at human relations. It was an interesting worldview in some classroom at some liberal arts university somewhere. Mm-hmm. But wokeness at some point moved from being about being a challenge to the system.
Wait, I mean, and the idea that you're just nothing more than your genetic stock, that actually, thinking about, is more the sort of thing that you'd hear from the kind of people PragerU like.
To becoming the system. So to really understand the origin story of wokeism, you have to understand academia.
They're not going to tell us who any of these people are. The idea, this is obviously a fucking graduation, but the idea, the implication here is that actually they are receiving the doctrine of wokeism right now.
First. That's where it was born. It was born as an infant there. Became an adult.
Well, I mean, usually that's how being born works.
Lesson somewhere else, but let's start with the infancy. That's where it began.
At the end of the day, the
well, then, then go for it.
rise of wokeism wasn't an overnight phenomenon. It's actually been in the works for years. So like many bad ideas, wokeism started in academia.
Well, you haven't actually provided any, you just showed pictures of college campuses. Not even pictures of people like being activists on college campuses, or doing protests or anything like that. Just pictures of normal college shit. Oh, here's a lecture, some professor who you probably found on iStock Photo. Here's a graduation. Like, this is it? This is all you've got, motherfucker?
But why? And why didn't it stay in the ivory tower? How did this cancer infect every other area of society? I needed to talk to somebody who understood academia and
I can't wait to see who she finds who understands academia.
from a long-term, multifaceted perspective.
Oh wow, from more random stock footage of college campuses to stock footage of Capitol Hill.
And so I traveled to Washington, D.C. to talk to a visionary who did something many people consider to be impossible. He
Flies unaided.
founded a new college that now rivals the Ivy League.
Okay, who the fuck
This
guy?
is Michael Ferris. He started Patrick Henry College.
Patrick Henry College. Okay. SourceWatch says, the mission of Patrick Henry College, as adopted by the Board of Trustees September 28, 2002, is to train Christian men and women who will lead our nation and shape our culture with timeless biblical values and fidelity to the spirit of the American founding. Okay. Michael Ferris. Okay, there's that guy. Let's see what we can find out about this dickhead. Okay. President and founder of the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Former Republican candidate for Lieutenant Governor of Virginia in 1993. Okay, all sorts of evangelical right-wing things. Okay, doesn't really like religious freedom. Not surprising. Yeah, okay, Christian fascist. What I did not see is how it's rivaling the Ivy League. You know, I have never actually heard somebody flex with having graduated from Patrick Henry College. So I don't think it's necessarily all that much competition to the Ivy League, actually.
A classical liberal arts college just outside of Washington, D.C. In only 20 years of the college's existence, Patrick Henry graduates have become leaders in the highest halls of power, including Congress, Hollywood, and the White House. And
No, who cares? I mean, it's literally a mill for churning out Republican operatives. Obviously, the idea is that they're going to hook these people up with jobs where where they can do right-wing shit.
this sort of cultural impact was by design. Ferris has been fighting
Exactly.
wokeism before it was even called wokeism.
Yeah, because you've called it all sorts of different things, but all it really comes down to is the fact that you are a bunch of reactionaries. And also, I mean, they're so telling on themselves here. Because the exact thing, what they're pointing out, this guy, the exact thing that they're accusing wokeism of doing, of being this big, sinister conspiracy to get people into the halls of power and, you know, take over with a fringe ideology. That's literally what this Michael Ferris guy and his Patrick Henry bullshit college, or Bob Jones University, or Pensacola Christian Cunts College, or fucking any of them, Regent University, all of them. That's like their entire thing. Is to have small groups of hardcore reactionaries who are indoctrinated at fake universities where they never actually hear anything that remotely challenges any of that. And then you hook them up with the think tanks and as political staffers and send them to top law schools, not one of your fucking law schools, because nobody actually takes those seriously, but the, you know, actual top law schools and stuff like that. Get them judgeships, get them hooked up with the Federalist Society. She's literally giving the game away here.
And more importantly, he's been winning.
And I dare anyone to read my legal analysis.
Why? Is it that bad?
Through Patrick Henry College, Mike is taking the battle against woke to the source by educating new generations of students in a rigorous, truth-focused education.
So what the idea is that wokeness is something that comes from students, from people growing up with access to more ideas than whatever bullshit their parents think about the world, and that the only way that you can defeat wokeness is to essentially get rid of any concept of academic freedom and just create just universities that are ideological hive minds. Like,
Where do you
literally,
think-
they're creating the thing that they accuse whatever they think the left is of doing. And then she's fucking bragging about it. This is great. It's giving the game away.
Wokeness started. What's your theory there?
Where I was seeing it mostly was in the schools of education. They were teaching there is no truth, but what they meant is we're going to undermine the objective truth that you believe in.
Wow. I mean, Phoenix. I mean, we've all heard that. We're always saying there is no truth, and we're going to undermine the objective truth, which doesn't apparently exist, because that's not contradictory at all.
And pretend that all truth is relative. And we're going to follow that up eventually with our truth. And that
And what is their truth? I mean, can you actually retain the idea long enough to argue? Like, this is the thing that they do. They will actually refuse to even engage with the idea that they're claiming is so horrible. Because if they do, they know at least some people are going to hear it and say, oh, actually, that doesn't sound so bad. I mean, it's literally, they understand, they claim not to, they pretend not to understand, like, no platform. They clearly understand no platform perfectly, because they actually go even farther than, I think, pretty much even the most, hardcore people on the importance of no platforming fascists go, because we will still actually point out what it is that fascists think on the way to explaining why that sucks. They won't even point out to their target audiences what it is that their political adversaries think, because they think even that it will be enough for them to lose at least some of them, because they'll say, oh, wait a second, that actually sounds kind of okay.
idea is now we're going to jam our truth down your throat and you better kneel.
What's their truth, though?
You raise a generation that's told at the university that nobody can disagree with you. You take that attitude to campus.
Yeah, because, I mean, if there's one thing about the university, it's that as a communist, when you're at university in the U.S., nobody ever disagrees with you. I mean, I'm just remembering, I got to my first year at university. I got there like a day late because I was coming from fairly far away, and my mother was driving me. And so I missed this orientation exercise. This guy who was living on my floor. And see, what you had to do was say something about you that probably you don't have in common with anyone in the room. And people said all sorts of stuff, and the idea was, look, we're going to recognize and appreciate our differences and our individual uniqueness and stuff like that. And so, and I heard this from him afterwards, obviously afterwards, because I wasn't there. I was there the day after. And he goes, so when it comes to be his turn, he goes, well, I'm a communist. And everybody in the room immediately fucking jumps down his throat, because of course they did. Of course they did. I mean, like, an anarcho-communist, I hasten to add, it was actually the first place I ever heard the term, and got me interested in it, although he was kind of a pain in the ass in some ways. But, yeah. So, yeah, but of course, I mean, obviously, leftists in American universities never have to worry about any kind of ideological adversity. Charlottesville never again. Wow, I mean, these horrible wokists don't want Nazis to murder people in the streets.
You think that's the way the whole world should be like, and that's what you believe. That's the way you were trained. And you will not be a friend of truth. You will not be a friend of freedom. You're going to be a friend of repressing anybody who doesn't follow the party line.
Okay, so how many communists have you got at Patrick Henry College? How many How many even like liberal fucking teachers have you got over at Patrick Henry College?
The tyranny that's in place today believes that the heart, soul, and mind of man belongs to government.
That's cute. They threw in Soros. They did a little bit of anti-Semitism there just for the people who are paying attention and pausing like I did.
And that mantra has been taken up by big corporations and social media giants
And why do you think that is?
so on. And that totalitarian impulse is the opposite of liberty or progressivism or any.
Wait, I thought these people considered progressivism a bad thing? I've never heard them use progressivism or progressive as anything other than an insult. So what's this now?
Any of the traditional meanings of those terms. Our country was a liberal democracy. We're fast becoming a totalitarian, bureaucratically run country.
Well, yes, and guys like this are the main beneficiaries of that and have played a major role in creating that situation.
Not a democracy and not a republic.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's never been a fucking democracy.
We need to walk, we need to march, we need to shout.
Transgender rights are one of the most important civil rights movements of our lifetime.
We can enact change in this country.
Yeah, and I mean, she's full of shit. She hasn't done a damn thing. I mean, she has done absolutely. In fact, at this point, the first act, she wins the primary to one of the absolute safest Dem seats in the United States, and immediately says, all that stuff about abolishing ICE. Actually, I wanted to rename it, and it's been downhill from there. Okay, so that's a pride march. There's people wearing masks in the midst of an aerosol spread pandemic. Wow, that's terrible. And a fucking Guy Fawkes mask, which actually, my experience is a lot of the people who love that fucking mask actually are probably kind of also cool with the like of PragerU. Yes, it is ludicrous. This is the standard of academic rigor you get at Prager University.
So you teach a generation that truth is subjective and ever evolving. You brainwash them to accept no alternative viewpoints.
You mean like your friend there at Patrick Henry College, who clearly his whole thing is he doesn't let anyone have any alternative viewpoints?
It's the woke way or no way. And then you release them into every industry of our society.
You release them? What are they, fucking honey badgers?
Perhaps the most pernicious infiltration? The indoctrination tool for the masses. Entertainment.
Did she just say, just right there, entertainment is the indoctrination tool for the masses? Not in quotes, not to say that somebody else was saying this with sinister intent. I mean, God, these people... Hello, Mask. These people are just, I mean, they're snitching on themselves on a level, it's just next level here. They're just, yeah. And yes, Mask, I saw that it's my turn. It's just that I saw it, literally a minute and a half before I went on, so it will be my turn after this. Caviar indeed.
For years, everyday Americans have complained about woke Hollywood.
What everyday Americans?
But we're not here to complain. We want to create alternatives.
Like, it's just really fascinating how they don't even stay on a point long enough to even make sense out of it. They jump from, they don't even really fully develop a talking point to the point where you could actually say what they were even trying to say. It's just sort of suggestive images.
So I decided to talk to a man who is doing just that, creating an alternative to Hollywood and multiple other industries.
Oh, the Daily Wire and yeah, ask him what his fucking box office gross is. To ask him what kind of pulling power his shitty ass movies have. Over at the Daily White Nationalist Wire. Well, they have to bitch about how woke Hollywood is because the trouble is they're trying to create the alternatives. They've got, these right-wing movie studios, like, they've got their tame movie studios, and nobody watches the fucking movies because they suck. They suck even worse than the normal Hollywood tripe.
It's not. Oh my god!
Wait, that's not the man we're talking about. That is.
Wow, he uses a flamethrower. Who the hell is
Meet
this?
Jeremy Boring.
His name is Jeremy Boring?
Jeremy is the co-founder of a media and entertainment company called The Daily Wire. They push buttons.
Oh, that's Matt Walsh, and White National. Oh, and here we go, the Helium Boy himself, Ben Shapiro.
They tell the truth, and they're working every day to create both news and entertainment that is free from liberal bias.
In many ways, big media has become...
His name really is Jeremy Boring. Well, I mean, no wonder. I mean, you just don't really get a real vibe of excitement off of a Jeremy Boring joint.
just a propaganda arm of
It's an annoying thing where it freezes up on me. And now I'm back.
the left, and Daily Wire wanted to correct that.
Welcome back.
So Daily Wire is a propaganda arm for the far right, then. Like, that's the thing that gets me. Because they're, on our side of things, we are actually fairly open about the fact that, yes, you know, we're doing propaganda work in the sense that we're telling you stuff, and we have an angle, and we'd very much like you to agree with our angle, and therefore we're going to tell you exactly what our fucking angle is. And why we think it's actually a good way of looking at things, and a good approach to doing something. At least when we're doing it well, that's kind of what we're doing. But they have to pretend, despite having, like, the most just, God, I don't even have the English for this. Plump. Die plumpste Propaganda, die ich je gesehen habe. Just the crudest fucking propaganda. With all this money. And their whole thing is, oh, we don't do any kind of propaganda. We don't have a fucking angle.
We've produced written articles, news articles, we've produced podcasts.
Embattled St. Louis prosecutor threatened with jail time after prosecution doesn't show up at murder trial. So, basically, contempt of court, I believe that's called, when counsel for one side doesn't comply with a court's order to appear on a particular day. That's just normal.
We're the fifth largest podcast publisher in the world.
Wow, so it sounds like actually the problem isn't that you are an underdog. It just sounds like people don't like what you're selling.
But beyond the Daily Wire, we've expanded into something we're calling Daily Wire Plus. And it's really a broader cultural entertainment play.
Yeah, let's ask him about his box office growth.
We're making movies, we're making television shows, we're making kids entertainment, which I think is probably the most important fight we will ever take on.
Yeah, because, of course, they're trying to manipulate the kids early, but their propaganda sucks. It just isn't very good.
They've also started making some pretty awesome products that offer an alternative to woke companies and other
What, like, Jeremy's... What the hell is Jeremy?
industries as well.
Yeah, see... What a fucking grip. Yeah, I mean, wow, you wouldn't want to have... What is that, bar soap? You wouldn't want to have woke bar soap.
Jeremy's Razors is a consumer goods alternative to companies like Gillette and Harry's Razors, who have all publicly embraced the LGBT
So, this is just a fucking commercial here.
agenda, and not just the LGBT agenda. The radical gender theory being pushed on children.
Agenda. But what is the difference between the LGBT agenda and the radical gender theory being pushed on children agenda? You're saying those are different things. Could you give us a distinction? Could we have some kind of definitions for the bullshit terms we're using here?
Daily Wire Plus, 1 million plus paying subscribers right now.
Wow, a whole million subscribers out of 300 million people in the country. It almost sounds like the problem is people just don't like your stuff that much.
At Jeremy's Razors, we have sold over 100,000 Razor subscriptions.
Razor subscriptions? Fuck you, man. Razor subscriptions.
I think all of that is because the half of the country that up until now has been divided by nothing. They've had no alternatives whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, that it does get old, let me say, when I, pulled my razor out, shaved my legs, once every 3 months, more or less. It really does get old that the minute I start moving it, it immediately, in a very tinny voice, starts talking about the immortal science of Marxism-Leninism. It would be really nice to have a razor that does not crap on about the immortal science of Marxism-Leninism. Yeah, so I guess maybe, so he's come up with racist razors? I guess.
Are eager and hungry to engage with those alternatives when they're presented, especially if we're not.
If you're so hungry you fancy a razor, I think you've got other problems.
Exploiting them, if we're actually providing value to them.
Yeah, there's no exploitation going on here, obviously. There's no manipulation. You're literally just these are the people who love to talk about virtue signaling, and here the idea is show you're a chud by spending probably way too much on right-wing branded personal hygiene products. Is there, but I gotta ask this, I gotta know, is there Ben Shapiro toilet paper? Can I wipe my ass on his face?
Then I think that there's enormous opportunity to succeed.
Or a Matt Walsh bidet?
Hollywood going woke was pretty easy to see coming. But what happened next?
Why was it easy to see coming? Because your whole point, starting out anyway, to the extent that this can be said to have a point, has been that there's absolutely no explanation for why there is this wokeism going on. Because you don't want to entertain the possibility that maybe companies have decided in order to sell to people you have to meet them halfway and pretend that you're from the same moral universe as they are. Because that would give away the game. So why is it any more surprising? Why is it unsurprising that Hollywood would go woke? Or are we going to just get into some anti-Semitism territory?
No one expected. Sports went woke.
Sports went woke. Yeah, tell it to fucking Colin Kaepernick, who I think still can't get a job.
See that guy standing?
Wow, that's so shocking. Who would have thought that an industry that is full of black people from working class backgrounds might sympathize with a movement that is asking for maybe the cops to stop murdering black people? You couldn't see that coming.
Everyone else is kneeling? That's Jonathan Isaac. He plays for the Orlando Magic in the NBA. He also happened to be one of the few NBA players who publicly expressed discomfort with supporting the Black Lives Matter movement.
Oh, yeah, isn't that it? So one of the few, because here you've been saying that it's this hegemonic thing that controls everything. Now you're saying, actually, yeah, okay.
This all came to a head when the players on his team decided to collectively kneel during the national anthem. So he did what he felt was right. He stood.
Yeah, so he sucks, basically.
Now, Jonathan is launching his own apparel company called Unitas.
Yeah, of course he is. Of course he is. I was about to say right before that, and not knowing anything about this, because I don't follow the NBA, my sport is cricket. Seriously, my sport is cricket. I love cricket. I'm right now annoyed because the Ashes are on, and I can't actually see them because it's extremely expensive to legally get cricket, and there's a time difference that makes it very difficult to stream it by other means. So I've never heard of this guy. But the minute I saw this, I thought, this is probably a step he's taken in consultation with his agent, realizing that there is a fucking brand position to be had by being the NBA player who actually kind of thinks it's okay for the cops to go around murdering black people. And not 2 seconds later, it turns out he's launching merch
in hopes of bringing people together over love of God and country.
Her name is I think Yoruba. I think her background is Nigerian. Orlando. So this is like Orlando as seen by Homer Simpson. Orlando. Like, how much of this is just her walking into fucking... Oh, Amway! See, now I understand. Because she's talking about this hegemonic, Marxist ideology that has taken over. And so, obviously, she has to go to an MLM. Because, Amway is, of course, a Marxist, Leninist, Maoist organization. Their downline is communism.
Unitas is a sports and apparel company.
I see. His fucking sports and apparel company is an MLM scam. Like, otherwise, why are they showing us Amway here?
The basis of it for me is freedom. You have companies that are in that field who have made a conscious decision to either attack or undermine Christian values, conservative values and things like that.
Tell us how those values match up with MLMs that screw over people by telling them that they're starting a business when in fact they're actually just the sole customer that the company has in mind for their shitty merchandise.
And I think that they have the free choice to do so, as much as I disagree, but I feel that...
Hello, Toriel Dreamer. Okay, I feel like I saw your name in chat like a week or so ago, and now I'm like blanking. Alright, is this Abby? This is Abby. Hello, Abby. It's good to see you.
That we also have a freedom to create what we want to create.
Left to right. Let's see how much of that freedom you have if you decide that actually to change your mind on whether it's a great thing for cops to be murdering black people for no credible pretext.
The hope is to be able to sign athletes across all different sports and to create a real infrastructure of people who are in the sports world, moms and dads who want to buy their kids sneakers and clothes, but want to give their money to a company that they know is going to work towards bolstering their values.
Which values are those, though? I mean, you say that you're against wokeism. What are the values? Yeah, there's then some like vague crap about freedom, which doesn't really seem to appeal to you very much, because you've also said things about how the reason wokeism gets everywhere is because people are exposed to a wide variety of ideas, rather than just being sort of stovepiped into one ideological hive mind that they never hear an alternative to, which seems to be your preference because freedom. What are the values? Come on, beyond scamming MLM victims.
Ready to go,
We can be proud
there's
of
never
what we
anything
believe in.
suspicious about
We don't have
PragerU.
to hide or be ashamed of it. As the day continues to get, darker and darker and crazier, you standing up for what you believe in.
What do you believe in, though? Yeah, I mean, why don't we get to hear what it is that he... I mean, that's... Okay, it's so fascinating to me. Because surely they should want to tell us why it is he disagrees with BLM? And yet they clearly have decided that that isn't something that we should hear about, because they're very completely just tip-tap dancing around any substantive statement of what he stands for.
It's only going to get harder, but it's only going to become more and more necessary.
Roll the dice. Oh, you wanna try? Left to right. Hey, it's time to slide. Hey, one time. Hey, two times. Hey.
Fun fact: these production values look really expensive. There's free software. I mean, free software and DSLR with video capability, and you can make a documentary like this. This is very low effort content.
But it didn't end in sports. We all know the story. It felt like the flip of a
What's the
switch.
story?
Like every company in America was suddenly spouting the woke orthodoxy. And
What's the woke orthodox? I mean, so far, what it was something about invisible injustices. Last we heard, but we haven't heard any more about that.
anyone who disagreed with them was ousted, condemned, and silenced. A perfect
Disagreed with them about what?
example? Amanda Ensing.
People love to complain about the culture and the environment, but they don't do anything. We need to be creating our own verticals and our own industries where we're competing.
Now, who is Amanda Ensing? I've never heard of her. Does anyone chat? Do you know who this is? DaVinci Resolve. That is the exact software I'm talking about, Toriel Dreamer. I love DaVinci Resolve. It is... Yeah, it is edited like a reality show. Although there is a style of documentary that does this. Like entertainment documentaries will do this. DaVinci Resolve is an amazing... well, there's a pay version. But it's just incredible how fully featured the free version is. Like that title animation I did at the beginning with the, the sphere with the seagull on it and all that shit. That 3D animation, that's DaVinci Resolve. I have the free version because I've seen great things about the paid version, but it's like $300 and I just haven't been in a position to drop that. Amanda Ensing, who is this? Okay, fundamentalist Christian beauty influencer. Okay, Teen Vogue. Why influencers are calling and Amanda Ensing out. And Amanda Ensing is currently feuding with a bunch of beauty influencers, including people I've never heard of. After January 6th, Amanda Ensing, known for lifestyle and beauty videos and the occasional conservative-leaning political commentary, took to Twitter to share her thoughts on the moment. Amanda addressed the event amply, but there was one tweet in particular that was met quickly with backlash from fellow influencers. The left, I hate it here. America's embarrassing. Well, I mean, I think most of the left would agree with you on that part. America's cringe as fuck. Only we can riot and loot. I don't know about that. I've seen other people who are much better at it, actually. The left... Oh, I see. The left, I hate it here. America's embarrassing. Only we can riot and loot, defund the police. Just do what the government tells you and don't ask questions. That's coherent. The right, let's fight for freedom. We love the USA. Defend the Constitution. We support our military and law enforcement. Wait, so defund the police but do what the government tells you, but we don't want cops. Okay, so she's just... Yeah, I mean, they don't watermark or anything. There's no length limit. I have edited like 2-hour, feature length stuff that if I were much less lazy, I would probably have edited down to like 45 minutes or something like that. But...
This is Amanda Ensing. She's an entrepreneur, a beauty influencer, and a general badass boss lady. She started out beauty influencing with sponsorships.
She's a badass boss lady. She is not somebody your ass wants to work for. She is a badass.
From Sephora and other huge makeup brands. But when armchair critics started criticizing Amanda for
not only an incoherent worldview, but occasionally her eye makeup kind of makes her look dead.
Dating her personal political beliefs, Sephora immediately canceled her sponsorships and went so far as to publicly condemn Amanda.
So for
what you mean, just because she decided to celebrate a bunch of white nationalists with the aid of the local constabulary trying to change an election outcome by intimidating a bunch of elected officials? I mean, wow, you can't say anything anymore. Like, there are countries where that would actually, and not a few of them either, where that already would have crossed the line into criminal liability.
For me, I was like, you know what? The beauty industry is in shambles. It only caters.
Yeah, it's probably one of these stock asset websites where you buy a subscription for like $50 a month and you've got all this stuff. Yeah, I was going to say Morticia has more style than this. And you could get all sorts of like rights-free music and shit like that. Like, I mean, tons of streamers use it. And you hear, and the weirdest thing is, you will hear the exact same music to provide BGM to radically different types of content, and it's actually sort of disconcerting sometimes.
Here's to one party, one set of views. Let's create my own brand.
Wow, an influencer creates own brand. Well, that is just an unexpected step. Influencer forced to create own brand to sell to Chud.
Our first launch sold out.
And they just, I mean, now I see, this is just ads for these shitty right-wing brands.
In like a day or two, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what? And just seeing...
And I'd love to know, are they just repackaging shit that they just bought as generics? I have a feeling they're just repackaging shit that they just bought as generics, but I don't know that. But somehow I don't think that they decided to buy all of the facilities that would be needed to actually churn this stuff out. It seems more likely that they paid companies that make generic shit to put their branding on it.
Seeing how much women wanted this, I was like, wow. And I was scared. It's terrifying putting your story out there.
Especially when your story makes you out to be as shitty a person as yours does.
And when you get canceled, and with all of these people now coming for me, it's scary at first.
Yeah, I mean, she's clearly in the witness protection program here. That's why they're pixelating her face. Oh, wait.
To take that first leap, but once you do, you just don't stop. The alternative to people not creating these businesses is way worse than if you would take that leap of faith.
The alternative to people creating these types of businesses is way worse than if you did not take that leap of faith. That's profound.
Because I don't think a lot of people realize how willing Americans are to support you. Like, we are desperate for new brands and new companies.
Her skills do not extend to reliably good eye makeup, I might add. Oh wait, I mean, yeah, here she is doing her own eye makeup, and it shows. Wait, you think that a fucking Instagram influencer who can't do her own eye makeup properly, and I say that I'm not very good at eye makeup either, but I'm not making a fucking brand around fucking sound ideas about makeup either. that she probably does not know how to compound cosmetics and test them and all that shit. Wow, I'm shocked. Okay, thank you, OBS or my camera, whichever it is, for at the very least freeze framing me on a cute image there. Because usually it freeze frames me on shit where I just look like a fucking god.
America needs alternatives. Oh, and if you haven't already guessed, every single one of the people we interviewed is a perfect example.
Every single one of the people we interviewed is trying to sell you some shit.
Of not just what fighting back looks like, but what winning looks like.
Wait, if you're winning, what's the fucking problem? Why are you telling us about this? That was her not putting lip. She was putting lip gloss on and she missed her fucking lip.
Well, I'll give you one of the insights from my investing days. It's a famous quote from Warren Buffett. Be brave where others are fearful. There's an economic opportunity. I think it might be...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, here he is once again sort of giving the game away because it's just a fucking grift. They realized their propaganda system has cultivated a bunch of like fucking extremely gullible white nationalist dickheads who will buy anything from NFTs of Trump's fucking last colonoscopy to white supremacist shaving accoutrements because they think that is somehow actually, rebuilding the fucking struggle for the race war or some bullshit. Yeah.
One of the biggest economic opportunities.
I mean, it is just so venal that it is actually almost impressive. Like, Quark would look at this. The Ferengi would look at this and be like, wow, this is in really poor taste.
Of the next decade, to serve the 100 million plus Americans, okay, who are badly disaffected.
Wait a second. Okay, that's interesting because, like, one of the things the right-wing media love to pretend is that their target audience is actually a majority, but he's saying 100 million plus Americans. That's 1/3. That's actually not just a minority, but not a very big minority even. That's not even close to half. So maybe the reason, actually, that so many companies are trying to sell to people who think that LGBT people should be allowed to exist and murdering black people is something the state shouldn't do, maybe the reason for that is that there are, by your own reckoning, Vivek, 200 million odd people in this country who tend to think who tend to be closer to that idea than to your shit.
From the places where they work, where they shop, where they bank.
Did someone make a set of NFTs based on colonoscopy images? Not that I know of, but I really couldn't rule it out. I mean, and I tend to think that if you, like, did claim to have NFTs that were literally from Trump's colonoscopy, I think you could probably clean up. Because some of these motherfuckers will just spend on... They won't need to be asked twice.
Where they invest. These are also, from an economic standpoint, some of the best customers.
Which is another way of saying they have money. They're not disaffected in the sense that they're getting screwed over by the economic system, which is, of course, something that we hear constantly from everything from liberals to Caleb Muppet, that actually the far right is disaffected poor white people. But he's pointing out the reason that they're a demographic that it's worth selling to is that they're not that. Anyone who is in the world of like investment decisions is going to be actually looking not. If they're going to survive, it's not going to be because they have wishful thinking about where money is. It's going to be because they're looking at figures and facts and stuff like that and worked out, here's a place where there's a lot of profit to be made selling to these people. Here's a place where you can just totally ignore them because they don't have any fucking money. And if there's a judgment on the part of people whose entire career is based on making investment decisions, that this is a demographic to be selling to, what they're saying is, yeah, actually they have more money than most people, because most people are actually seriously hurting right now.
That any business could want. That is an economic opportunity. It might be.
Yeah, they have money and they're easy to part from it. Yeah, exactly. They are the sort of they're the sort of people who will hear, let's have here's $50 for a racist razor, and they'll immediately order it because they're not actually worried. 50. They don't have to count down what's left after they spend that kind of money because they're kind of okay.
The economic opportunity of our generation. One person can't do everything, but each person can look themselves in the mirror and ask, how am I going to have my own unique contributions? For me, it's in the financial institutions and the asset management industry.
Which is so...
in capital markets. Somebody else might be starting a consumer products company. Somebody else might be starting a new university.
Wow, this is very convenient that he's just sort of listing the exact descriptions of the various grifters that we've seen on here.
Somebody else might be starting a new mode or new approach to entertainment.
Yes, I mean, see, it's been so long that people have been making entertainment that people want to watch. Well, it's about time that there was a production company dedicated to stuff that nobody wants to see.
Each of us is making our own unique contributions. And I'm pretty optimistic that together,
wait a second,
the mosaic.
What is the shitheads from Glass Onion? I mean, I feel like I've heard Glass Onion, but I haven't seen anything to do with it. And there's an artwork called The Shitheads? I have not seen Glass Onion, and I'm beginning to get the impression that maybe I ought to. What's it about?
That drives that change through true diversity, that dilutes the church of diversity to irrelevance.
What?
Over the last few years, we've seen woke activists try to infiltrate every area of society.
That's not what infiltration looks like. Now, why do you think the fucking Marriott Marquis is putting out stuff like this? They're probably putting it out because they're seeing that a lot of capitalists' investment properties were getting a little bit of smashy, and they wanted to try to claim that they were the good capitalists.
Education, entertainment and media, sports, and business. And for many of us, that seems daunting. But talking with people like Vivek Ramaswamy, Mike Ferris, Jeremy Boring, Jonathan Isaac...
Well, I mean, an entertainment company run by a guy called Jeremy Boring.
...and Amanda Ensing, we have proof that you can push back and make a cultural impact by providing alternatives. We know we're not going to change...
Hang on. It's the deconstruction of a clue-style mystery featuring exactly the horrible kind of people you feature on these videos. It is incredibly well written with a fantastically satisfying ending. Okay. You've sold me. I really must... It's a follow-up to Knives Out, which I've heard of as well and also not seen, and I'm guessing you're about to say that I really ought to see it, and I would probably really like it. So... okay.
Change everybody's mind on these issues, and that's okay. The goal is to...
the fucking right-wing university dude, the Patrick Henry University guy, Ferris, whatever, looks like the smoking man from X-Files. Yeah, let me pull that back.
We know we're not gonna...
Oh, God. Yeah, he's fucking serenading on his guitar. Times aren't be-a-changin'.
Change everybody's mind on these issues.
He looks like the fucking smoking man from X-Files.
And that's okay. The goal is to create a society where even if nobody's mind changed, we can all live together in a pluralistic, prosperous, civil United States.
And that's why you think it's a bad thing that people commemorated the people who were murdered at the Charlottesville pogrom.
And I want to invite you on that journey. Together,
What journey?
we can fight wokeism in academia, in the culture, in business. But it's not just about conservatives making alternatives for other conservatives.
Well, we're 16 minutes and 42 seconds into this 17-minute and 33-minute fakementary. So if it's not about that, then why is that all we've heard about?
We need more people creating just flat-out good products, media, education, you name it. We need alternatives that are good for society and good for America.
The fuck is this ending?
I'm ready to try. How about you?
You're ready to try what? Other than making these shitty videos, what are you doing?
Thanks for watching this short documentary.
You're not welcome.
Corporate wokeism is plaguing America, but as you just learned, there are lots of opportunities to fight back and win.
You didn't really give... What's your definition of winning, anyway? I mean, other than selling money to far-right dickheads. William B. Davis, who... Yeah, it's definitely not William B. Davis, but he looks like him as he appeared in X-Files. Knives Out deconstructs Agatha Christie? Holy shit. Okay, I really must see these things. Okay, we've actually still got a fair bit of time.